Hi, I'm Rogue from Fitness Gone Rogue, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you two exercises you can do utilising the kettlebell. The first exercise we're going to look at is going to be a much more basic exercise, so if you're just starting out with kettlebell work, then this is going to be great for you. And the second exercise is going to be progressing up to a little bit more advanced exercise. Okay, so the first exercise we're looking at, I would advise that you start with a nice light bell just whilst you correct the technique, and then start progressing up with weight. I'm going to be using a 4 kilogram for the demonstration of this exercise. Okay, so we're going to be working in a split stance, meaning we're going to take one step forwards. This is much better for relating it back to our sport. We very rarely stay with just feet planted side by side, and much more likely to be moving and therefore coming into a split stance. So we're going to come into a split stance. The key thing here is thinking about our posture, making sure we're not anteriorly tilting the pelvis too much, getting a nice neutral spine, making sure that we're driving our weight down this front leg and into kind of the heel of this front leg as well. What we don't want to be doing is holding that weight on this back leg, where if you look, we're going to be shearing through the knee, and we don't want that weight going there. Much happier with it here in this front leg. So we're going to step that foot forwards and hold that weight there. We're also going to be thinking about, as if we would take a stride, drawing our leg back towards us. So even though we're stationary, we're thinking about through the ground, drawing our foot back. And what that's going to do is initiate our hamstrings and glutes in the back of the thigh here, to get those working rather than relying on the quads. So, split stance, weight in the front leg, good posture, nice neutral spine, chest up. We're then going to start swinging the bell, and in order to swing the bell, we're going to come into a slight little tilt from the hips, and then just build the momentum. Now, we're going to make sure that when we're doing this, we're thinking about keeping that neutral spine in check, keeping the chest up, and really thinking about bracing the abs and holding the core nice and tight. The last thing we're going to look at is the swing. So we're going to start at the top of the swing with hand over, so palm to the floor, holding the bell, and then as we progress through that swing, we're just going to internally rotate that hand so that as we hit the bottom of the swing, we've got palm opening out to the side of the room, turning inwards. Okay, so there's our exercise here. We're driving that heel back, working that hamstring and glute of this standing leg, utilising that posterior chain, bracing the abs, holding the core nice and tight, and getting a good solid swing with the bell. Okay, and you would do exactly the same on the other side, making sure you've got that same setup, weight driving through the heel of the standing leg, front leg, not through the back leg. Hips square. Pull the belly button in to engage the glutes, engage the abs, sorry, not the glutes. Draw that heel back to engage the glutes. And then a slight tilt in the pelvis to get that swing going. Turning the hand inwards, making sure we're keeping the chest up throughout the exercise. And working on swinging that bell. The great thing about this exercise is we can start to move with it. To advance this exercise, we would also employ a change of hands, and we can just work through our step pattern. We won't look at that today, however. So there's our first exercise. Reps range, you are probably working between 10 to 15 reps. And if you want to put that into a little workout with a couple of other exercises, look to do 3 to 5 sets. Okay, once you've got that technique nailed, that's when you can start to build up the weight range that you're working with. Key things here, really thinking about holding a good neutral spine. I had a tendency to let that lower back just dropping into anterior tilt. So I really have to focus on maintaining a good neutral spine. What really helps me with that is engaging these hamstrings in the standing leg. Okay, that was exercise number 1. Here's exercise number 2. This is a little bit more advanced. And what we're going to be working on here is actually a lateral move which replicates our skating stride, our skating move. We do it off skates in our training quite a lot with a skater jump. I know that's quite a popular exercise. among roller derby skaters, but we're going to be using a kettlebell and exactly the same swing motion that we were just doing, but we're going to add in a rack. So again, this one's much more complex, so I would like you to start lighter with the weights. I'm going back down to the floor. I'm not going to start trying to do this more complex move with a heavy weight. Key thing, first of all, we're going to be racking the bell up here on the shoulder. To rack the bell, we want to make sure that we don't let this hand drop back. We want to keep that nice strong extension in the wrist, so a nice straight wrist, not letting that flexion occur. So holding that nice and strong. Now we bring that elbow down into the rib cage, holding that nice and close to the body. So this is our rack position, and the bell sits over the back, on the back of the forearm. Then we're going to do that same movement pattern I was just doing with that skater stride. And as we come across, we move across laterally. The same way in that first exercise we were thinking about drawing the weight through the front leg and through the heel, we're going to do the same setup. We're going to think about stabilizing this knee by drawing the heel, drawing that leg back. So working on this kind of movement pattern with those muscle groups in the back of the thigh, the hamstrings and glutes. So good setup, move laterally. As we get there, we're going to swing the bell down in exactly the same manner as we did in that first exercise. Now, as we start to build up momentum and get more used to this movement pattern, what we can start to do is really work on not landing that back foot down. So we're exactly going to replicate a kind of skater jump, where we don't put this foot down, we hover it across the back, but obviously we've got the added weight, the added momentum to help stabilize. So it's a little bit more difficult. So coming across, not putting that back foot down. Try and think about that neutral spine. Notice my other arm started to replicate the same movement pattern as well. So working those swing systems. Okay, I'll just show you on the other side. This is my weaker side. So I really have to concentrate on this one. Weight in that front leg, driving through the heel. Bracing the abs, nice neutral spine. Stepping across, swing the bell down, back up. What we also want to try not to do is let this leg swing way too far across. To get a good solid movement, we want to keep the hips square and really work on that good posture and good form. Rep range, exactly the same as the last exercise, working between 10 to 15 reps. And again, you can do 3 to 5 sets, depending on what else you're doing in your workout. I'll just do a couple with the heavier bell. They actually really change this exercise. It really works in here, in our sling system at the back, working across and down. Really have to think about neutral spine and bracing the abs. Okay, and that one is a super advanced exercise, so make sure you're building up to that one. You can start with a simple lateral step first, and then build it up to the jump, build it up, taking that back foot. I hope you enjoyed that exercise. Last point to make about the second one actually is how well it replicates our skating movement. If I'm jamming and I'm thinking about my kind of jukes that I'm going to try and throw the blockers off guard and off their footing, then it's exactly the same muscle groups that I'm using. So in my weight, I want to keep this leg nice and strong. I don't want this knee tracking over either side, so I want to think about loading that weight into my heel, firing the hamstring and glute, working that posterior chain. Just throw my weight either way, either side, and if we get that sling system really firing, really working, we get that nice snappy elastic movement pattern, which is really great for our glutes. So even more reason to give it a go. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you have anything that you would like us to cover, any specific piece of equipment or exercise that you'd like to see us explain or break down, comment below, get in touch with us. We love to hear from you. I'm Rogue of Fitness Gone Rogue, and I hope you enjoyed that kettlebell exercise.